Morning, Jake's here. I don't know if anybody's talking on the other side, but we're not hearing anything.
Try that.
You hear us now?
Oh, I can hear you now. There we go.
All right. Well, I will.
The fact that you're giving everybody your personal phone number, I don't know if you want to do that.
All attention.
There's nobody on yet.
Yeah. So it's good.
Later on, there might be somebody on that you don't want to have this number.
So I will call the
I
meeting.
think
I'll call the meeting to order. Now that we actually have the quorum or actually the board, I just want to confirm from Commissioner Anderson, did you wish to delay us doing the election of officers until 1 o'clock?
yeah, that'd be great. I should be back home by 1, so I can be on the full Zoom and everything.
Okay, I don't have any issue. You're fine with that. Okay, so just for anybody that's listening, we're going to go ahead and defer our first order of action, which is election of officers for the 2022 calendar year. And so we will just sit here for a bit until 10 o'clock when our next department update, which is Public Works. Yes, you can give us a travel log,
I can give you a
Mr. Anderson.
smidge of a board update.
Oh, wow, okay.
The Wassac weekly call-in
Oh, yeah.
was talking about the Board of Health. Trying to get the name correctly so I don't say it wrong. The American Indian Health Commission. They get to be the ones that appoint our Native American tribal representative to the Board of Health. So they wrote a 6-page, I don't know, we'll call it a recommended policy for boards and commissions. In their interpretation, after working with various tribes and whatnot of this new position on our Board of Health, is that every tribe that has access or land or reservation or deeded property or deeded fishing rights or what have you, each one of those individual tribes get a seat on our Board of Health. That's their interpretation.
And just to confirm, there is
The
tribal,
whatever I just called that,
okay.
The American Indian Health Commission. Also, in their opinion of this law, any 501c3 corporation that does public health for the tribes or any tribe in your county also gets a seat. So in some counties, it was brought up that there's 5 different tribes, not counting 501c3s, and their personal interpretation was that each one of those tribes gets a seat on your board. Because one tribe can't represent another. That's like Japan representing China is the term they used. I think the majority of the commissioners on the call, the majority of Wassac might have had a different opinion of this law because it says one tribal in the law. So there's calls to bring it up in the legislature to try to clarify that. Wassac wasn't sure that they really wanted to because when you open this back up again, the legislature could clarify it the wrong way. So I'm just kind of throwing this out there. The way I read it, it's one tribal representative. By the statute, it looks to me that that commission would appoint, but in part of this 6-page document that they're going to be asking the board chairmen to sign on how to. It's an interesting read. I won't get too much into it. I'll wait for it to come out and you all can read it. And it was pretty much written by the tribes. How to handle them, how to deal with them, how to notify them. If the Board of Health was going to have a vote on anything, if the tribal representative wasn't there, they couldn't vote. And all sorts of fun stuff like that. So that's the latest stuff.
Okay. Well, thank you for sitting in on that.
It was hard.
Yeah, that would be the way I read it is that there is a seat and we will invite them to submit whoever they choose and they can participate or not participate.
We'll send them the meeting
meetings
and show up if you want to.
If you want to and vote if you want to.
Yeah, no, this is a whole 6 pages of, yeah, it's an interesting read.
You would think they would have to understand that is.
That's this 6-page document
Work.
is what they've been up to for the past 6 months, as opposed to finding out what tribes are in each county and or contacting the tribes to figure out. They hope to have that done by the end of the next 6 months, which if you remember, this has to go in place by January or July 1st. So everybody's pretty much saying, get off this policy statement and do what you need to do. So anyway, thank you. That was the other one, because on the Idaho border, they have no federally recognized tribes in their county, but the Nez Perce across the river in Idaho have Indian fishing groups. So this Indian Commission was saying that they get to sit on the border. Oh, they don't live in the county, they don't act how does somebody out of state. It's interesting, their interpretation of this.
Well, just from a practical standpoint, you have to understand, like in a situation where you have 4 or 5, they're alleging that they would have 4 or 5 seats on a board of health, a local board of health.
Controlling interest.
Exactly, where they would have an outsized ability to shape the policy of public health in a county where they're really a tiny minority of the population. That makes no sense at all from just a democratic standpoint. No, I fully support the idea of inclusion, that they would have a seat, they would, the law is the law, and they would have a voice at the table, but they would have a voice if they come in, but not to the point where they're basically in charge of the local board of health. Why? That makes no sense at all. If that's their interpretation of the law, I'm sure the folks that drafted the law, that better not have been their intent.
Well, and that's where the Boss Act was coming in. I don't know that we really want to bring it back before the legislature. It's kind of like my opinion. We go off our interpretation, right? We reach out to this organization, say, who's your appointee? We go that route, and if it ever ends up, the courts can decide.
The courts can decide. Exactly. You're asking for trouble.
Yep.
No, my interpretation of the whole point of legislation was to even have more citizen representative, where it would even up. There's a reason why you can't have a majority. You can't have more than a majority of unelected, non-elected folks, but you also, the electeds can't be in the majority either. Well, it really is, the whole point of it was to make it so you would have to collaborate to get anything done.
Well, you can have more of a majority of elected chosen. You just can't have more electeds than you have.
Right. But I can't imagine.
Anybody would want.
Well, because the whole point of it, the whole reason behind why boards of health were the way they were until this revision was that the folks that have to pay for everything, the fiscal people, could not be in the minority because you can't, it's all great to have all these policies and you want to do all this stuff and spend all this money. That's great if you're spending somebody else's money. But the whole point was the ones that actually have to have budgeting authority have to be okay with the direction that you're doing. And that was why before this, the majority of the seats had to be elected officials. And the way I looked at it, it was just a way to kind of even it up because you had to have, you couldn't have, had to be at least, I can't imagine any appointing entity that would, like, I'm not interested in having, I'm fine with the, even split because we have to. But I am not okay with ever having more that, especially when we're the ones, the county or whoever will be the ones that have to pay for everything. The decision makers are now disconnected from the actual checkbook of having to figure out how to pay for things. It's a terrible idea. I'm preaching to the choir. Sometimes the choir is the only one listening.
I have a question. Do you guys recall if the tribes, because of their sovereign status, were outside the governor's authority with regards to COVID requirements and such?
I don't know.
I don't know. I have opinions, but not answers.
Yeah, yeah. I would say the same. I suspect I have an opinion, but I don't know.
Right. Well, I'm trying to understand how, in some instances, the tribal representation, if you followed this train of thought that this group is, could have the majority of the votes on the Board of Health, which actually has zero ability to have any determinative control over tribal members.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
that's a
on the
really good
same
point.
regard, if the majority of the Board of Health voted to open up free clinics for tribal members, then you have a majority of the Board of Health spending your budget essentially. It's an interesting.
I think the county commissioners still have control over the budget, though.
Right. They're going to have an inherent conflict because the Board of Health cannot direct the Board of County Commissioners to fund anything. So it's like, go ahead and make your recommendation or your policy, but guess what? You have zero budget. So but why would you want to set it up to fail like that? You're setting up this conflict that it's just bad governance.
Argument here.
Good morning. Morning. If you're ready, we can run a couple minutes ahead. Okay. Delayed electing officers for the year. So Commissioner Anderson is able to fully participate. He is on the phone. It's hard to run a meeting on the phone.
Yeah, he has a long driveway.
You can't see anything.
You can't see anything.
Well, he's got the phone right on the computer.
So I think I'll try to do maybe a test today with all the cell numbers that I have on my phone and make sure they all work.
We learned this morning.
Yeah. So I'll do that, and then I'll, what I do is once I send you guys the notice, then I think the years pass. Wow, good morning.
Morning. If I'm getting some nice holiday, didn't we?
Yeah. time I've seen Jeff since a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Well, you guys color coordinated this morning.
Yeah, I noticed that too, yeah. The uniform today. So anyway, I think just, I'll go over the snow stuff, but I want to make sure everybody actually gets the updates. And then in years past, we've actually sent them out to all the electeds and the directors so that they all at least get that same information and they can kind of make plans or see what's going on for their commutes in as well. And then they can pass it on to their staff if they choose.
You're talking about the text that was sent out this morning.
Yeah, the text, that's what I intend to do. And that didn't really happen as timely yesterday. But yesterday was an event that we had to deal with. So widening is kind of the challenge today. So a lot of the roads, we just punched holes in to get people in and out in some of those less traveled roads. And so we're going back and widening everything, and that'll take a couple days to do that because it's really heavy, wet snow in some locations, and there's a lot of it. And so the complaints that we'll see will be, we're gonna keep piling berms across people's driveway, and that's just the nature of winter plowing for us. And
Let me go somewhere.
yeah, in the past, we've been asked, well, what if you just slowed down a bit and dumped the snow before you got to our driveway? And we kind of went through that exercise, okay, that takes you 10 seconds a driveway. We have 20,000 driveways in the county. How much time does that add? And we would never finish in a day with our routes. So the most important thing we do is get the routes open, and then people can actually go somewhere when they get out of their driveway. So that's the challenge, I think. And so we'll hear complaints, you may hear complaints. And then, once we get things plowed off, we still have a lot of snow that's remaining, that's just going to be packed on the roads. So the next time people will, it'll look like we haven't plowed is when it starts to thaw out. It'll fluff up and it'll be slushy and slippery. And that's the next time that we'll get lots of calls. So you may hear from people as well. The third thing is that kind of hampers us is equipment breakdowns. So this morning we started to plow, and then we had 2 trucks break down in Bickleton. And so people see those parked at the shop. Why aren't you plowing? So we may get calls like that, or you may hear that from some of the citizens. So anyway, there's lots of reasons, but if we can plow, we are plowing. And I think we got in Bickleton, we actually got a truck to replace one of those, kind of one that wasn't being used in Goldendale. And then we got parts on order for both trucks that are down. If the UPS guy shows up today, we'll actually get one of those back on the road and we'll be back up to where we were yesterday. So challenges with plowing, sanding chips, the landfill, we usually our deal with them is when they use Roosevelt Grade Road in the winter, we supply the sanding chips, they place them on the road. I got a call earlier, right before I came down here, was that usually they use about 150 yards for the winter. They've gone through 300 yards and are asking for more. So we will provide more, but we're in the same process. We're going to try and ask why we use so much.
It's the
in
first
such
of
a
January.
short
It's on a little thick.
Yeah, so, and I've heard it's like a gravel road on our new paved surface, so we'll talk,
Gravel.
yeah, we'll talk to them and see what's going on, try and get them not to put so much down. But anyway, we want to continue to provide gravel to our partners so that they can continue to haul garbage up the hill. Dallas Mountain Road was another one I didn't put on my list of roads that didn't get plowed yesterday, but from the riverside up to the top of the hill, that didn't get plowed yesterday. But there's not much going on in between there. So where the residence takes off, we did, but not the rest of the way up the hill. So
Anybody traveling that in the snow is brave.
Does it say crazy?
Yeah.
It's Dave S. at klickitatcounty.org.
All right, so that's no, unless you had questions or about the text I sent out.
County employees, we got the message that the offices were closed at 7:32 yesterday, which I'm assuming is later than when you would normally want to send that.
Yes, I try and get it out before to you guys before 6. That's
What
what I do.
about, I mean, does county, let's say, we'll use Ivy or Lee, for instance, well, she's a kind of a director, but we'll use Ivy, for instance. Does she have a way that, as just an employee, that she can put her number on your list to get notice of closures? Do employees have such a function?
Well, King has the emergency notification system, so he's the one that actually sends out the notice. So I provide you guys with information that at least what are conditions out there, and then you guys decide, should we keep things open, close it down?
So as far as notifying employees that were closed, that's a Jeff King.
That's Jeff King, yeah, he provides that service.
It's our employee responsibility to sign up for it.
Yeah.
It's an employee thing, really. Yeah.
But
Yeah,
the
they-
notice should have went out, and that's part of I mean, first, we were a little rusty for one,
Right.
we hadn't done it for a while, and then that was why I had not got, normally we get the report before 6. And then we make some decision, and then we try to get notice out by like 7.
Right.
At the latest. Well, when I had not received anything, because I thought, okay. So I initiated, actually Jeff called me, what are we doing? It's like, I haven't heard, I have no reports of anything, so I don't know. That was yesterday. We're not getting any. So
Right,
we
I'm
reached
just-
out, so we were a little delayed yesterday to make the call.
I'm just thinking that some county employees did not get notified. Maybe they did not sign up. Maybe they did, got a new phone or a new phone number. So now would be a perfect time to send a county-wide email. That if you did not get the message yesterday and you want to get future messages, please provide your number to. Okay.
Yeah.
I know it works because I got notice on every possible device I own, and apparently some I don't own anymore as well.
Yeah, so
But you have to sign up for it.
Jeff King will periodically send out a notice to let people know that, hey, we have this service if you want to know about emergency events, not just snow, but other things that happen, fire events, then sign up for this. And then they'll send him the information. Yep. Okay, one item on the consent agenda, and this is to extend our agreement with our archaeologist, and this is for the Klickitat Trail project only. So we're actually out on advertising for our on-call service, but since Melissa, who is currently the one doing that work, started this project, we'd like to keep her until we're done with the project. Then we have one pay estimate approval, and that's the Kirby Nagelhout for $215, $529.93 with retainage of $8,712.53 and sales tax. Let's see, construction is really kind of at a standstill. We've actually suspended the grant funded signs and guideposts since Canyon Road is the last road to get devices, and there's really no way to put anything out there with the plowing to be done. So we're suspending until the snow goes away and then they can do the work. Roosevelt Grade Road, they have signs left to do out there, and we didn't suspend that, but we're waiting for better weather, and hopefully we'll get it, because it's just different over there than most of the rest of the county. Design side, people who are on vacation are back, and so work has started again on some of these. Courtney Road is out on advertisement for bids. We have 3 contractors signed up currently on Builders Exchange, and there are others that are looking and have pulled plans that haven't signed up yet. So they're not required to sign up to bid on the project. And then we're still advertising for our on-call consultants for this year, 2022. On the maintenance side, we're pretty much responding to winter weather and hoping that all of our equipment stays running, or we can get parts to fix things as they break down, because that is a challenge. The radio sites, I think the only update is that you guys ordered equipment.
Yes, yeah, that's the equipment.
The critical equipment has been ordered. Anything else to add there? So then there are some other follow-up items that I talked about. One of them was our building Annex 4. What do we do with that? And with us moving over to this building, I still have not finished looking at that. And then the other information on Annex 1 that we talked about, parking areas. So that's it for my update, unless you could think of something that you were thinking about on vacation.
Oh,
It should have been nothing.
but we'll save it for later.
What is this city's request for parallel parking?
In the that has to do with that big bulb out down there. Yeah. So this is I haven't updated anything because they haven't done their vacation of the street and all that. So.
No, Commissioner Anderson, anything?
I don't have any questions.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
job. The roads look, I came through High Prairie.
Yeah.
All right.
It was good.
All the road boys, good job.
Yeah, no, good
I
job.
happened to be in my tractor clearing my driveway when they plowed through yesterday. Made me big over. I kind of give them a thumbs up and wave, and they look at me like I was an idiot. It's like, how are you happy? I just created a birthday. Probably gets a different finger. Maybe, like, push it out of the way, it's fine.
Maybe too soon. No, I will say I am convinced they wait like on Old Highway 8 around the corner. And because it happened every time I finished my driveway and it was within 3 minutes that it came that loud. I'm just out of sync where it should be. Like I'm gonna wait here and listen. No, I think I'm good. So no, that's just part of the deal. I was happy to get the road plowed as far as the county road. They did, no, everything looked good. Good. Old highway and
I figured you guys were a little behind that first thing. Our road usually sees the plow by 8 o'clock. And there went one on it the first day. By the second day, that everything's gonna go.
Yeah, when we get hit, that early morning, that's when we get pounded with the snow. You can't keep up. If it comes,
especially the way it was snowing where it was coming down, because they came through just with a pickup. First, I think just to try to, kind of open things up. And, within 2 or 3 hours, it was like they had plowed.
Yeah.
We're getting so much snow so fast.
Yeah.
That you just, unless you're going back and forth, there's a whole county.
Yeah.
That's exactly the case. You get people upset because their road didn't get done. Like, you know how many road miles there actually are?
Exactly. No, so please keep that. No, great job. It was good. I was reminiscing about because my dad was the road boss, when I was growing up, and I think of, as I was telling my wife, I said, man, you got it easy, because I remember growing up, my mom was like the dispatcher. Like people just thought it was perfectly acceptable to just call him at home, it was her, and she should have been on the payroll. And she hated it when it snowed because it was, my road's not getting done. When are they gonna be there? They didn't care. So I will say it's a much more efficient and professionally run department than it was. That was 30 plus years ago. So
I do have a question. I noticed the crew out there with a shovel in the bed of the truck flinging gravel onto the sidewalks, which they're using more now, so that's good. Is there another way to do that they don't have to actually just shovel load and walk back and shovel load and walk? I mean, is there like a spreader?
Yeah, we're looking into getting a spreader, so we have one for rock salt, but we don't want to put rock salt on the new concrete. So we'll do that, start doing that probably next year, next winter, but yeah, so we need to look into something like that for a pickup truck. The one we have would get destroyed, so that's the most efficient, but we're looking for something that'll help us out.
I just feel sorry for those guys walking back and forth to the truck, grabbing a shovel, back to the sidewalk, back to the
Yes.
sidewalk. And I'm like, oh, God.
You two, we've talked about it, we're looking.
That's all I have.
Great, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Great, okay, I see Mr. McClure's here. We're running a little ahead, but if you're game, we are. Sure. So Natural Resource Economic Development Department updates. Good morning, sir.
We've got Whitney and Richard on the line.
They're both there.
All right. Hopefully the audio will work there. Maybe start out with economic development. And I don't know if you received a copy, but we received notice that we got preliminary selection for the grant from USDA, the airport project Dallas-Fort. We have some more information to get to them. Richard is working on that with Jeff. And Richard, do you want to add anything to that?
I'm not sure if he's still there.
Okay. Yeah, he spotted his truck didn't make it down his driveway. So anyway, he's working with Jeff Hunter. We've got some preliminary engineering to do there. Got to get the environmental review started. And he's got some documentation valves. So that's moving forward. That's really good news. Working on a memorandum of understanding with the city of Goldendale for the $250,000 grant with 0.09 funds to fund the preliminary engineering on the wastewater treatment plant. Got a draft of that. You get it to the city and to the prosecutor to review and bring it to you. Richard is working with Lorena Lowell. She's our SBDC advisor on putting together a class for people interested in childcare facilities, opening one up. So she's had I guess it's a 7-day course that she taught at Columbia Gorge Community College. It was a little Oregon centric. This will be more focused on Washington rules. Richard's also working with the Department of Commerce and the agency that licenses childcare to participate in the program. So anyway, it looks like probably going to be March. And we will put that on, get the class together, get the advertising out, try to drum up those connections.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how are we thinking we're gonna reach out as far as make sure we get it advertised?
Well, like with advertising in the paper, the chambers of commerce have been getting the word out. The county's child care committee, work with them.
Richard is back online.
He's back on. Richard, I touched on the grant from the EDA. We've got some things to do. Is there anything special that you want to mention there with regard to that grant?
For the childcare?
No, the EDA. We'll go back a little bit. The EDA grant for the airport.
Yes. Firstly, sorry, my internet's not the best. I had to transfer my computer cell phone. The federal EDA grant. There's just some updated paperwork that I got to do to get to them by January 21st. In addition to that, I'm going to be reaching out to the city. I know that Julie's already tracking on this, the city administrator, but they need to more formally declare me as the AOR. Currently, they have the county as the administrator, and the county's put me as the authorized organizational representative, but they want something from the city as well. So we're working through that right now. Two other items that are of more interest to the federal EDA is going to be the engineering portion. And Gordy and Jeff are already tracking on that. They're going to give me the information that I need. And then lastly, it's going to be the environmental. They'd like to see us to begin the process on whatever environmental stuff, NEPA, SEPA, that we got to do out on those properties. But, and yes, they know that it is a very short time hack on that. I think we were officially, we were given the official letters of consideration, I think December 23rd, if I'm not mistaken. And so January 21st is a pretty quick turnaround, but they just want to see progress. So we're moving forward.
That's good news. That's great news. That's been a long time coming.
This has been quite the exercise of bringing me a rock.
It is.
Richard has quarried.
Yes, MIDI has showed the MIDI rocks.
Yeah.
I'm hopeful we're actually going to get over the finish line, but I still have some skepticism. I look forward to the groundbreaking.
Okay. And on the child care, do you have any questions regarding the child care training?
I don't.
Okay. Lodging tax, the applications for lodging tax, the tourism promotion projects are due on the 10th. And then the committee will be on the 24th to review those and formulate a recommendation for your consideration.
We had a gentleman in the office last week that I did take down to your office.
Lynn told me about it. I
Yeah.
thought it's kind of sketchy at this point.
Yeah, okay, I didn't have a whole lot of information. I just knew once we figured out what he was talking about,
Okay.
and I got him to the right.
And it may come in, mine says it's probably going to come in the form of a public records request, so I'm not really clear. I haven't talked to the gentleman.
Yeah, I was really trying to understand what they were looking for, as far as if it was to be able to apply or not apply, or.
All right, so if he's wanting to apply, I hope he contacts me soon.
Well, that's what she had kind of indicated was that we were actually in the submission window right now.
Right. Yeah, when I talked to him Friday, my understanding is he was supposed to come in yesterday with a public records request, but we were closed, so.
Okay.
I'm ready to hear from you today.
That's okay.
Pardon?
I said, I have no idea what you're talking about, but that's okay.
I don't really either.
Well, no, it was after we were done on Tuesday, and there was the staff we were all done, and we had nobody in the office because Jen was still over here. And so when I went over, there was a gentleman standing, and I was like, so I had handed him up because I didn't even know. And then I could see she was struggling to figure out. So I went back and asked, and then I was like, oh, lodging tax. Oh, come with me.
I mean, you know, so.
Yeah.
Okay. And so
That's down the hall.
you had an update on workforce training? Is he still there? Did we lose him again?
No, he's there.
Yep, I'm here. So for the workforce training, I have been in contact with South Central Workforce Development Council. And so they are able to do single entities. Previously, they've always had to do consorts, so 2 or more businesses or 2 or more entities to do incumbent worker training. That being said, I know it's a huge need for truck drivers and snow drivers and everything else like that currently. So I reached out to them and see if they'd be willing to entertain a package. Right now, they only see packages for these dollars quarterly, just once a quarter, and they're not gonna take a look at any packages until March. But I reached out to them. They said they'd be willing to entertain if we can get something going for truck driving. And so I know that the county is looking for somebody. So we're going to be trying to connect all the dots on that front. So with them.
Yeah, I'm assuming you're talking about the CDL training potential that the landfill and Ruby wants to kind of do.
Yeah, so Ruby wants to do something, but the county itself is also looking for a snowplow driver as well.
Right, and I'm
So,
fully supportive. I think as we see more retirements in the near future, we're going to need more CDLs, and it's also something that can be a talking point to get this over the hump is rural fire departments also. To drive the bigger trucks, you have to have a CDL. And not everybody at a fire hall has a CDL. So some of the fire halls only have a couple of people that are allowed to drive the bigger tenders. And that creates a public health risk. So if we can get more CDLs in the community for our firefighters as well, that's a good thing.
okay, perfect. I wasn't even thinking about the fire truck drivers. That's a really good idea. Thank you. I'm gonna make sure I reach out to them as well.
That should get us some bonus points.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
From above.
That plays well.
And one last note that I have down here, just to let you know that we did reach out to the folks that bought the SDS lumber mill, as did the Workforce Council, offering to provide a rapid response team for those workers that were let go, and no one was interested. So that didn't happen. That ship has pretty much sailed at this point.
So it's the company, so it's at their discretion.
To give us names and
Information,
help.
we don't know the names. Helps they get
We're
to us.
named. Yeah, so pretty much Richard reached out a couple of times. The Workforce Council, both with after the purchase and then after they transitioned to the new management as well, offered to set something up for workers.
And like, yeah, that's disappointing.
Yeah,
Very disappointing.
hopefully everybody land on their feet. But yeah, the good thing is that unemployment rate's down to what one? November 3, 4%. 3.9. That's good. Wish I knew what the labor force participation rate is.
Right.
So I'm coming back from 2 weeks of vacation. That's all I've got for on that anyway. Whitney's on the line.
So,
All right. So we're beginning to start the year for this next round of surfboard grants. Right now, it looks like we have about 670,000 available for projects in the county or within the lead entity's geographic area that extends all the way over Benton County. And there's potential that will go up to 969,000, but we won't know that until June.
So what would be the trigger for the increase in funding?
My understanding is those are federal dollars, so we're waiting for some budget things from the feds. Whitney, do you have anything on that regarding the trigger for the additional 300,000?
Yes, and good morning, commissioners. That increase will come through the infrastructure package, actually. So the infrastructure package would send money to the Pacific Coastal Salmon Recovery Fund, and then that gets allocated to the surf board. So there's a series of decisions that have to be made by PacSurf and then by surf board, and those decisions won't come through until June.
So when does Surfboard make determinations on projects for this year?
That
Is it before June or after June?
August?
Oh, in August, so they'll know what the, so I assume what they'll do is they will typically prioritize the projects, and then they got this much dollars and they just work their way down the list.
Right, so
So they'll
Whitney,
have to know how far down the list they get to go.
Whitney's going to be meeting with the technical committee and project sponsors later this week. See what's in the pipeline, make sure everybody's aware of it. I think Citizens Committee will be in February, the applications will be due in June, and then in August, we'll get it to Surfboard. So still, we need to make sure those projects are.
So if you got that fish barrier project out in Centerville, you got time to get it put together.
Well, actually, the governor has proposed a salmon recovery package, and there may be opportunities for the county in that. Whitney, do you want to expand on that a little bit, with budget?
Sure. So in December, the governor released a new update to the state's salmon recovery strategy. And backing that update, he's also proposed $187 million supplemental budget for 2022. And so as a part of that budget, there's a lot of different pieces, obviously. So we're tracking all the different pieces. We have yet to see what will actually be passed through the state legislature. But there might be opportunities for, say, getting some of our remaining county culverts dealt with. I don't believe we have that many. I'm coordinating with Public Works on that. What with the holiday and such, we haven't had a chance to touch base, but that's a priority for January. But there's just a lot of moving pieces. And so it's kind of a wait and see game. We're tracking all the pieces and talking with partners across the state, but there is a significant amount of money coming down. We're just waiting to see where and how they're going to funnel, if that makes sense.
So if we do get 900,000, do we have enough projects to use that up? Or do we need to find projects?
I'll know more on Thursday. I think we should have enough projects lined up. The biggest stress right now is that we're getting a ton of money, but organizational capacity locally is somewhat not behind the game, but we need to have people to do the work. And it's a lot of work to get projects shovel ready and even design ready. So I think we have enough in the queue, and I'm talking with my committees and project sponsors on Thursday. And I'm fairly confident we'll have enough to submit for this grant round.
But Public Works could submit a project for Surfboard funding, aside from the governor's budget proposal.
Correct. There's a lot of different funding programs we can go through. So there's our local Surfboard process, and then there's these other grant programs run through the state, as well as potentially new grant programs that might be funded through the governor's salmon recovery package.
Good enough. I'd rather let that paper. Go ahead.
Right, so we could double check with Public Works this week too, and make sure, see if they've got anything they want to tee up.
Yep, it's on our list. We were all out during December for various times, so finding time to meet was difficult, but we're all back and we'll be meeting shortly.
Sounds good. Yeah, make a note to remind them that Commissioner Christopher is interested in the culvert in Centerville. On that fancy fish bearing stream.
Yes. Most promising fish bearing stream in the state of
It
Washington.
can be on the bottom of your want list, but as long as it's on there somewhere, just in case there's more money they need.
Want free passage to the salmon sink?
Yeah.
Spray fish go to the dock.
Yes.
They need water.
No, apparently to have a salmon stream,
You don't need water to have a
there's
service.
another one up here in your district in the middle of the hayfields. That's seasonal creek bed fish bearing, salmon bearing.
It's more of an aspirational goal.
I ain't had any water in that stream in 20 years, but it's still a fish creek.
Okay, so on the Dry Butler Creek water measurement project, we're looking at potential storage sites there. We'll probably be asking for another year extension to that because well, they just got one down. Just put them back in. But we'd like to get 4 years together. We don't expect any problem with that extension, right?
Problems expected, and ecology knows it's coming.
And there's that's not it. Unless you've got questions.
Questions? No question. Any questions, Commissioner Anderson?
No questions here. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Thank your staff for your reports.
It's good if you're available. We're ahead of schedule, but we've got the performance evaluation.
Yeah.
Do it now. Get her done. Give us a minute to, lay out the disc queen. So we don't want any blood stains on our new carpet. If Guido's not here yet. All right, we will go into executive session in accordance with RCW 42.0.11. G, this is for a performance evaluation of a public employee. We have nothing scheduled for the rest of the morning. So when we come back out of executive session, there will be no action taken. And so I would invite folks to leave the meeting. We will reconvene at 1 o'clock. We'll start with.
You guys want me to call one of your cell phones or just kick everybody out but me?
What do you think?
The board has requested that we totally shut down during the executive
Right.
session.
Yeah, so just call on us on the cell phone.
Do you have speakerphone on your phone?
Yes.
Jake, it looks like we'll give you, if it works, we'll give you Lee's desk phone.
Okay. Just give me the number.
Oh, I think we're looking for that.
No, I'll have to call you because
She'll call you.
yeah, I need to go.
That
get-
works.
You wanted it this number right here, Jake?
Yeah, this works. Thanks.
Wait a minute. I need
I'll
that
give it
number.
to you. I'll give it to you.
Okay, you got it?
Yep.
Okay,
So-
I'm gonna go off then.